C Sharp. It is a popular programming language that may be used for a range of purposes, such as mobile application, game development, and enterprise software. Knowing C Sharp brings up a lot of opportunities for you as a developer. C Sharp was created by Microsoft's Anders Hazerberg in 2000, and it was later recognized as international standard by ECMA in 2002 and by ISO in 2003. C Sharp was introduced by Microsoft together with the .NET Framework and Visual Studio, both of which were closed source. Microsoft had no open source product at the time. On that note, hey everyone, I'm Vaibhav Khandelwal and I welcome you all to yet another exciting video from Simplilearn. In this session, we will be discussing C Sharp arrays. However, before we begin, make sure you have subscribed to our YouTube channel and clicked on the bell icon below, so you never miss an update from Simplilearn's YouTube channel. Let's look at the agenda for today's topic. We shall begin our session with an introduction to arrays in C Sharp. Then, we will discuss various types of C Sharp arrays and how to implement them. After that, we will dive into its advantages and disadvantages. Finally, we will conclude this session with a brief summary on C Sharp arrays. So without any further ado, let's get started with what is C Sharp arrays. An array in C Sharp is a collection of elements of the same data type stored in the consecutive memory location. Arrays in an object of the base type system.array in C Sharp. In C Sharp, the array index begins at 0 and we can only hold a fixed number of elements in an array. Now, let's discuss the types of C Sharp arrays. In C Sharp, arrays are categorized in three types: single dimensional array, multidimensional array, and jagged array. Let's discuss them all in detail. First up, single dimensional array. Much like other programming languages, in C Sharp, single dimensional array is like a row of elements. To create a single dimensional array, we use new keyword and a square bracket after a type. Let's try to implement a program in the code editor. Let's begin with the basic syntax using system. Now we will create a public class one D array and we will initialize a main block as public static void main with argument as string args. Now we will create an array. So int arr equals new int. Now we will declare the size for this array. So it will be 5. Now let's start filling up the array spaces. So arr at 0th index is equals to 10. Arr at first index will be equals to 15. But we can also initialize the same array using a different method where we will initialize and declare the array at the same time. Let's try that one. So we will start with int with a close bracket arr which is equals to new int with size 5, and in curly braces we will add the element. So 10, comma 15, comma 13, comma 9, comma 21. We can also write it where we can remove this size to make it a little bit of dynamic. We can also remove the new keyword to make it more simpler syntax. Let's keep it that way. Now let's write a for loop to traverse this array. So for int I is equals to 0, I less than arr dot length I plus plus. To print the elements of array, we will write console dot write line and in argument arr at index I. Now let's execute this program. Let's save this program and run it. As you can see, it is printing the array values as we have written in this array. Let's get back to our slides. Next, let's discuss multidimensional array. A multidimensional array is again divided into two more parts, 2D array and 3D array. The data is kept in tabular form, that is row versus column, which is also known as matrix. To create a multidimensional array, we need to use the commas inside the square bracket. Let's try and implement a program in the code editor. Let's start by creating using system. Then we will create a class public class as multi d array. Then we will create a main block, so public static void main string close bracket args. Now we will declare this array, so int braces, and braces will have comma 1 comma for the 2D array, then arr equals to new int bracket 3 comma 3. This is a mere declaration. Now we can initialize this array and insert the elements one by one using the simple method like arr 0 comma 0, or we can write here in curly braces, in small curly braces, 1 comma 2 comma 3, then we'll close it and insert another curly brace for 4 comma 5 comma 6, then outside 10 comma, then another curly braces which will have the value as 7 comma 8 comma 9. Or we can also remove this size 3 comma 3 from this, or the new keyword entirely. Now let's keep it with new keyword. Now let's write a program to traverse this array. We will be needing a nested loop. So for int I is equals to 0, comma I less than 3, I plus plus, then a nested loop with argument as int j is equals to 0, j less than 3, and j plus plus. We will write console dot write line arr at I comma j plus, we will add an inverted comma with a space in it. Then we will come out with the internal for loop, and we will call console dot write line, and we will not add anything in the argument, so that it will just change the line to make a new row. Now execute this. As you can see, this function is showing each and every element of this array. Now let's get back to our slides. Next, let's discuss jagged array. In C Sharp, a jagged array is referred to as an array of arrays. Since each of its elements is an individual array, a jagged array's element might be of various sizes. Now, let's try to implement a program in the code editor to get to know it more better. Let's start with a standard syntax using system, then we will create a public class jagged array, then we will create a main block, so public static void main with argument as string close braces args. Now here we will declare the array as int braces, then another braces space arr equals to new int 2 and then empty braces. Here this 2 defines as the row, which means how many arrays will there be as an element. and the second one is left empty so that the arrays can vary. Now let's initialize these arrays. So ARR at 0th index is equals to new int 6, then we will insert the elements as 42, comma 61, comma 37, comma 41, comma 59, comma 63. Next, we will write the array at first position is equals to new int. Let this array be of size 4. So 11, comma 21, comma 56, comma 78. Now let's traverse these array elements. So we will be using a nested for loop. So for loop int I is equals to 0, comma I less than arr dot length and I plus plus. Then another for loop with argument as int j is equals to 0, j less than arr's length, j plus plus. Now we will write system dot console dot write as arr at I and j plus an empty inverted comma. Then we will go out of this for loop and write system dot console dot write line to insert an empty line. Now let's save this and run this program. We have to add array length of the first array AIR size I, and then we will save and run it again. Now it is showing the complete arrays. Let's get back to our slides. We have now discussed what are arrays and types of arrays in detail. Now let's look at the advantages of C# array. First up, It is used to represent a large number of data objects of the same type with a single name. Next, arrays are used to implement data structures such as linked lists, trees, graphs, stacks, and queues. Also, matrices are represented by two-dimensional arrays in C#. Finally, since arrays are highly typed and there is no boxing and unboxing, so it improves the application's performance. And these were the advantages of C# arrays. Now, let's discuss the disadvantages of C# array. First up, the array has fixed size. As a result, we must declare the array size ahead of time. Next up, if we allocate more memory than it is required, then the additional memory will be wasted. Next up, an array element can never be inserted in the middle. And it is also not possible to delete or remove elements from array's middle. During the course of this video, we have discussed C# arrays and its type, along with its advantages and disadvantages. Now, let's conclude this video with a brief summary on C# arrays. First up, in C# arrays, code optimization is an easy task. Next up, using C# arrays, you can easily traverse data. Next up, C# arrays can make it simpler to manipulate data. Next, sorting data with C# arrays is as simple as breeze. Finally, declaring an array may result in memory wastage or a case of insufficient memory because arrays have a fixed size. And this was all for today's session. Hope you guys found it informative and helpful. If you liked this session, then like, share and subscribe. If you have any question, then you can drop them in the comment section below. Thanks for watching and stay tuned for more from Simplilearn.
Hi there, if you like this video, subscribe to the Simplilearn YouTube channel and click here to watch similar videos. To nerd up and get certified, click here.